Okay, we are back, and we're going to be talking about the first story up is the Baltimore Bridge collapsing. Let's get into that right now. See it right there? That was intentional. Wow. Whole bridge falls just like that. Fair use.
6:03 is the time right now. The impact of the Key Bridge collapse in Baltimore is just beginning to unfold. Now, overnight crews work to bring in a massive crane to help clear the channel, and investigators are actively working to determine what caused this catastrophe.
Of course, a top of mind throughout all this is the 6 men who lost their lives in the collapse and their families. Jess Arnold joins us again from the ramp leading to the Key Bridge in Baltimore. And Jess, divers still haven't recovered all of these men's bodies, right?
Unfortunately not. Yeah, they did. They were able to pull 2 people from the water on Wednesday, they said, but they're still searching for 4 other men who are presumed to be dead amongst the rubble in the water. Now, those diving crews said it's been a really big challenge because they can hardly see in this murky water. So they're having to feel their way around for that mangled metal as they search for those 4 remaining men who are still missing. Now, still later on today at 2 p.m., CASA, which is the group that is helping these victims' families, is going to be holding a press conference to honor them. We'll be hearing from other construction workers there as well. I want to go through the names of all of these men who were killed in this collapse. Now, we have the 2 men who those divers recovered on Wednesday. They're Alejandro Hernandez Fuentes, he was 35, and 26-year-old Dorlian Ronial Castillo Cabrera. Now, the 4 men who are still missing are 34-year-old Minor Yasir Suazo Sandoval, 35-year-old Jose Minor Lopez, Miguel Luna, and a man that CASA said is named Carlos, whose full name hasn't been released yet. Now, at this presser, CASA said that they'll also be spotlighting this dangerous but critical work that construction workers do every day, because remember, those men were on the bridge filling potholes when this happened. Now, they plan to call on President Biden to honor these men's lives by providing work permits and temporary protected status for fellow construction workers, many of whom are immigrants working dangerous overnight hours. Now, early this morning, the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers I'm planning to move in a 1,000-ton crane. They say it's the largest on the eastern seaboard to help with all this cleanup. And they have another crane that's supposed to be coming tomorrow. They're covering the entire cost of cleaning the channel. That's the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers I'm talking about. And there's also more help to cover the cost. The Biden administration approved $60 million in emergency aid to help clear the debris. Now, this doesn't include the cost of rebuilding the bridge. Maryland Senator Chris Van Hollen said he'll introduce a bill in Congress to pay for reconstruction costs. Now, when it comes to the investigation, the National Transportation Safety Board is now working aboard the Dali cargo ship to gather evidence and conduct interviews with the 21-person crew. Now, there's a new video here of that investigation. Senator Van Hollen says they're working hard to reopen the port as efficiently as possible.
Now, here's some information that kind of got me thinking a lot about this whole situation. Take a look.
Of course, the black box from the ship that hit that bridge is missing 2 minutes of sensor data and steering inputs. Why wouldn't it? And of course, the ship managed to somehow defy the laws of physics. If you're unaware of what I'm talking about, go ahead and put your tinfoil hat on and follow me. But we have two new revelations about that ship hitting the bridge. The first is what Gen Z would refer to as sus. But the second thing is impossible. So let me give you the sus shit first. So they recovered the black box from the ship. They recovered the black box completely intact because why wouldn't they? The ship didn't fucking sink. Then the NTSB informed us that 2 minutes is missing. And it just so happens to be the 2 minutes leading up to the crash. Even though, as we all know, a black box is supposed to have a backup power supply so you never stop recording. But nevertheless, some very strategic 2 minutes is just fucking gone. And the sad part is that's the more reasonable part of the two things we just found out. Like the second thing is not just sus, it's impossible. So here's a very short clip of what the NTSB just said.
27 and 4 seconds. The pilot ordered the Dali to drop the port anchor.
If you don't know anything about ships and boats, that might not sound that fucked up to you. So let me just show you. You heard him say that they dropped the port anchor. And the port side of a ship is the left side. Let's all have a basic understanding of physics here for a second. They dropped the anchor off the left side of this fucking ship. How the fuck did this ship turn right? That's not possible. It's just not. You cannot drop an anchor off this side and make the ship go that way. And look, I understand that the Biden administration is not good at much. But one thing I thought they were very good at was lying to my face and genuinely getting away with it. How do you have a government that is packed full of lawyers and spies and you still somehow suck at lying to the American people? Now we're supposed to just accept that we're missing 2 minutes from a black box that was completely self-contained and had backup power.
Makes sense. Okay. Intentional. You look at, they deliberately steered that boat into the bridge. You can't say anything else. It's what they did. It's not conspiracy theory. That's what happened. No one else can say anything else about it. They planned it. And that's what happened. Just like 9/11 was planned. Many other issues. But let's talk about this Democratic candidate. Okay? This Senate contender who decided to use this word and then try to say that it was an accident. He didn't say that word. Let's get into that.
What you look at is, can you compete? Can you do it better than the other competitor? And with that, can you create a P&L statement that works? And the tax rate, that's after the P&L. It's never, ever once been a consideration. So this Republican jigaboo that, it's a tax rate that's stopping business investment, it's just completely faulty by people who've never run a business. What you look at is, can you compete? Can you do it better than the other competitor? And with that, can you create a P&L statement that works? And the tax rate, that's after the P&L. It's never, ever once been a consideration. So this Republican jigaboo that, it's a tax rate that's stopping business investment, it's just completely faulty by people who've never. What you look at is, can you compete? Can you do it better than the other competitor? And with that, can you create a P&L statement that works? And the tax rate, that's after the P&L. It's never, ever once been a consideration. So this Republican jigaboo that, it's a tax rate that's stopping business investment, it's just completely faulty.
One more time, just one more time.
What you look at is, can you compete? Can you do it better than the other competitor? And with that, can you create a P&L statement that works? And the tax rate, that's after the P&L. It's never, ever once been a consideration. So this Republican jigaboo that, it's a tax rate that's stopping business investment, it's just completely faulty.
Something, man. That's something. A Democratic lawmaker running in one of the most closely watched 2024 Senate races has come under fire for using a racial slur during House committee meeting moments greeting a black White House official. Representative David Trone, Democrat of Maryland, referred to this Republican as a jigaboo during a House Budget Committee meeting Thursday, the video showed. Trone, 68, used a dated and offensive term for black people moments after welcoming Shalonda Young, head of the White House Official of Management and Budget, OMB, to the hearing, Washington Post noted. So this Republican jigaboo, that it's the tax rate that's stopping businesses, is just completely faulty by people who have never run a business. They've never been there, said Trone, who also co-owns Total Wine and More. The Democrat did not seem to pause or notice what he said as he continued his remarks praising President Biden's tax policies. But ex-users quickly took notice, even though most assumed he had not meant it as a racist slur. See what it is? The Democrats will point out everything racist with the Republican Party, but one of their own does it. Now you hear the excuses, just like the Republicans. Representative David Trone needs to explain why he used the word jigaboo in a budget hearing today, wrote Reese Colbert, host of Reese Colbert Show on Sirius XM, calling it totally bizarre. Since his ads had paint him as a racial justice warrior, he should know better, she argued. Trone, whose main competition in the May 14th Maryland Democratic Senate primary is Prince George County Executive Angela Also Brooks, a black woman, later apologized, saying he meant to use the word boogaloo. The later term refers to something that causes worry or fear. You don't get those words mixed up, okay? You don't get those words mixed up, okay, at all. Today, while attempting to use the word boogaloo in a hearing, I used a phrase that is offensive, Trone said in a statement to Fox News, adding that the word that he actually used has a long, dark, terrible history. It should never be used anytime, anywhere, in any conversation, he went on. I recognize that as a white man, I have privilege, and as an elected official, I have the responsibility for the words I use, especially in the heat of the moment, Trump continued. Regardless of what I meant to say, I shouldn't use that language. Black make up nearly 1/3 of heavily Democratic Maryland's population, according to census estimates. For several decades, Prince George's County enjoyed prominence as the richest majority black county in the U.S. Wins the Democratic primary is likely to face off against Republican former Governor Larry Hogan for the right to succeed the retiring Democratic Senator Ben pardon. This is just, they should basically have him kicked out, force him to retire. Okay. But unfortunately, I don't think the Democratic Party will do that. And I don't think the blacks in the Democratic Party have the backbone to say he needs to go. All right. I don't think they have the stones to do that at all. That's what I'm seeing here. All right, so let's talk about what California Department of Corrections is doing right now. Tell me if you agree with it.
San Quentin's infamous death row is facing its own death sentence. The California Department of Corrections has now begun transferring all death row inmates to other prisons to comply with voter-approved Prop 66. So, by the end of the summer, California's death row will no longer exist. NBC Bears' Jody Hernandez took what may be one of the last tours of San Quentin's East Block.
Sorry. You're locked down everywhere you go.
Marcus Adams describes what it's been like living on San Quentin's death row. Sentenced to death for triple murder, he's lived in a 4 by 10-foot cell for the past 21 years. Like all death row inmates, anytime he leaves his cell, he must be escorted and handcuffed.
Being on death row, you're confined to your cell 20 hours out of the day.
But that's all about to change. The Department of Corrections has begun clearing out San Quentin's East Block, moving condemned inmates to other prisons across the state. It's all a result of Proposition 66, which requires death sentence inmates to pay restitution to their victims, meaning they need to be able to leave their cells to work.
They can't stay here.
Why can't they, go to just make license plates, and the money they make from making license plates go to the victims? They can leave their cell to work in a section of the prison and go right back to their cell. That makes much more sense.
Here because we do not have an electrified fence, and so the guys that are transferring have to be behind an electrified fence.
The CDCR says inmates will be mainstreamed into the general population and not required to wear handcuffs at their new prisons. There are still 399 condemned prisoners living here. The youngest 24, the oldest 93. All of them will be moved out by the end of the summer. Anything you're going to miss about death row?
No. Not at all.
Michael Lamb was sentenced to death for killing a fellow gang member. Once a part of a white supremacy gang, he says he's now a changed man.
I can't tell you how good it feels to get rid of the death row stigma. Because when people think death row, they think serial killer, rapists, child molesters, and I'm not here for that.
But victims advocates say it's a recipe for disaster.
These prisoners are not the type of prisoners that should be put in mainstream. People are going to die because of this policy. There are several death row inmates that received a death sentence because they killed someone in prison already.
That's the issue. This is what's happening in California. This is what's going on in California. And there's a lot of things that are going on in California that are not great. Okay, it's the fact that you have inmates who, if they identify as a woman, a male identifying as a woman, they can go to a female prison. Okay, this is what's going on now. So now women are going to be attacked in these places now. That's what's going to happen. And you letting these people, these violent offenders, back in the general population, people are going to get hurt. And this is California just destroying their city, their state, I'm sorry, just destroying it. All right, so let's talk about Prince Harry. Are we talking about Prince Harry? You'll see.
Finally, to the latest from the investigation into American rapper Sean Diddy Combs. Now Prince Harry has been named in a $30 million lawsuit against the hip-hop mogul, who is facing charges of sex trafficking and sexual abuse. The lawsuit suggests that the Duke of Sussex was one of the guests at Combs' infamous parties, allegedly attended by sex workers and underage girls. However, there is no suggestion of any wrongdoing by the prince. Our next report goes into the salacious details.
Another prince and another royal mess. Prince Harry's name has surfaced in a sexual assault lawsuit against Sean Diddy Combs, the American rapper who has been accused of sex trafficking and sexual abuse. He faces a $30 million lawsuit. Record producer Rodney Jones claims the rapper sexually assaulted him. He's accused Combs of being a serial sex abuser. The 73-page lawsuit suggests the American rapper drew influential guests to his infamous parties. Combs' gatherings were allegedly attended by sex workers and underage girls. The document in the court names the Duke of Sussex as one of Combs' guests. However, there is no suggestion of any wrongdoing by the prince. He has only been named as one of the examples of Combs' celebrity guest lists that included famous athletes, political figures, artists, musicians, and international dignitaries. Earlier, the American billionaire was pictured with Prince Harry and William after performing at the concert for Diana on the late princess' birthday in 2007. And in 2012, Combs said that he wanted to hang out with Prince Harry during his UK trip. But there have been no reports of Prince Harry's association with the American rapper, who has been in a legal hot soup. In November last year, Combs' former girlfriend R&B singer Cassie also sued him. She accused the rapper of raping her and being plied with drugs for 10 years. His suit was settled a day later. Combs is facing similar lawsuits from 3 other women. The complainants alleged that he had sexually abused them and participated in revenge pornography.
Yeah, man. Yeah, Prince Harry is the same Prince Harry who was in a Nazi uniform a couple of years ago in his youth. Well, hey. It gets worse. It gets worse. Check out who's also putting this. Fair use.
We're hearing for the first time from a rep for Diddy, Sean Combs. Remember, after the feds raided his houses in California and in Florida, we brought it to you as breaking news on this show 24 hours ago with those live aerials at the time. Well, now those reps for Combs say that this was, and I'm quoting here, a gross use of military-level force, and that Diddy is innocent. Remember, just the last couple of minutes, too, we're learning that the feds apparently found guns at the homes of Combs, according to 3 sources familiar with the matter. Diddy is now at the center of this federal investigation, with multiple people being interviewed by federal officials in New York related to allegations of sex trafficking, assault, and more against the rapper, according to what sources tell NBC. And that's as NBC is learning exclusively that the music producer accusing Diddy of sexual assault and harassment is also accusing actor Cuba Gooding Jr. This producer filed the original lawsuit last month, accusing Combs of forcing him to find sex workers and pressuring him into doing sexual things with them. Now, he's saying Gooding groped and fondled him while they were on Combs' yacht. No comment from Gooding's reps yet. Dana Griffin is joining us now, but tell us more about what Diddy's reps are saying about all of this here.
Yeah, Hallie, they just released a statement within the last hour. I'm going to read parts of it. They call this a gross overuse of military-level force. They go on to say that there is no excuse for the excessive show of force and hostility exhibited by authorities or the way his children and employees were treated. It also mentions they call this an unprecedented ambush, and also note that this is a premature rush to judgment of Mr. Combs, and it wraps up saying that Mr. Combs is innocent and will continue to fight every single day to clear his name. Hallie?
What about this lawsuit from the music producer now accusing not just Combs, but Cuba Gooding Jr. as well? Important to note that Gooding has not been charged with any crime. Talk us through some of that.
Yeah. So this producer, Rodney Jones, amended his lawsuit to now say that Cuba Gooding Jr., according to the suit, groped him while he was on a yacht in 2023 with Diddy in the Virgin Islands. And I want to read part of that as well. In the suit, he claims that Mr. Jones believes Mr. Gooding.
That is nasty. That well, that is what type of wow. That is nasty. That oh man, it's like, you know, if people knew about these people, who they really are, they wouldn't watch any of their movies. It seems like, you know, Sean Puffy Combs is another Jeffrey Epstein. That's what it seems like. He's a Jeffrey Epstein. That's what it's turning out to be. All right. Well, we'll take a look at this right here.
Yeah, so as soon as you turn 16, you know what I'm saying? I'm gonna let you rock this every time you come to LA. Yeah, this gonna be yours. So every time you come to LA, it's a little dusty, but you know, come get the front shot of this.
Man.
Minute.
Woo. Okay.
Okay.
All right, so I'm gonna be driving this next year.
Yeah, when you get 16, you come down there, you gotta, you know, wear your seat.
I mean, I'm 15. You could ride in the passenger seat. I got my permit. Not yet.
No.
All right, 16.
You're not ready.
16.
Slow down. Let's slow down, Jess.
Okay.
Let's slow down. Okay.
One step at a time.
But yeah, the keys is yours when you get 16. You good to go.
I'm good to go.
Yeah. And then when you get 18, you get the house. You get the mansion.
Okay. I get the mansion. All right. So where are we off to now?
Where would you like to go?
I mean, wherever you want to go. Where are we going?
So check this out, yo. Justin, you ever seen the movie 48 Hours? Right now, he's having 48 hours with Diddy, him and his boy. They're having the times of their lives, like, you know, where we hanging out and what we doing. We can't really disclose, but it's definitely a 15-year-old's dream. You know, I have been given custody of him. You know, he signed to Usher.
Custody. custody. What parent gives custody to their child to a complete stranger? What parent does that? I don't care if it's to have your kid signed off, right, to another individual, a complete stranger. Something wrong with you. I just feel that there is something wrong with you. I don't care what anybody says. And for parents to sign off just like that, you're gonna let a stranger just be with your child like that? I feel that that's strange. I feel that's weird. I feel that's total irresponsibility of the parent.
I had legal guardianship of Usher when you know he did his first album. I did Usher's first album. I don't have legal guardianship of him, but for the next 48 hours, he's with me. So and we gonna go buck full crazy.
I'm going crazy.
Crazy.
I'm taking this out tonight.
What you want to do? What you want to do over the next 48 hours?
48 hours.
It's crazy, man. This is. I don't know, man. I just don't know. I don't know, man. This is sick to me. And completely irresponsible. Irresponsibility on the parents to let your kid be with a complete stranger like Diddy. This kind of gives me the creeps. Here's Diddy's adoptive daughter.
My name's Ava. I'm a Scorpio.
No. What's your last name?
Oh, Ava Combs.
What's your other last name?
Ava Baroni.
Eva Baroni Combs? Yes, it was breaking news. Diddy adopted a white child. I want you to tell them the story about how I adopted you. But you still have beautiful parents but you're my child also. Please.
The parents gave her away. Ooh. This is wild. This is some. I just. It's nuts, man.
Tell the story.
So, I was on the streets, and then Papa Combs decided that he would like to be a caring man. So then,
On the streets. And Puffy's an idiot because he would just put a minor up there and let her. Tell her how I took care. Tell him how we met. Well, I met Mr. Combs on the streets. So what? The parents were drug addicts. What's going on here? And this is the hood, and hood culture. Don't have much common sense or brains, so they just put anything on the internet. Okay, I'm not rooting for Puffy Combs at all, but I'm just showing the stupidity of people who are from this type of culture. And now, if it offends you, you may be part of the problem. If it doesn't, because you know people like that. If you come from it and you're not stupid, if you come from black hood culture and you're not stupid, then this shouldn't bother you. It shouldn't at all.
he saw me, and decided to pick me up and said to come inside and play with his kids. His kids. And said to come inside and play with his kids.
Hey, but that's like a little bit like borderline suspect. I don't want nobody, we want to get it clear. I adopted you like Madonna adopted kids and everybody else adopted kids. Charlize.
Sheesh. Yeah. 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 I mean, I'm just looking at this as just like, this guy's just, I don't even know what to say, man. I don't. It's real wild here. Going back to Justin Bieber a bit, check this out.
What's up, man? You good?
I'm good. How are you doing?
Young brother, everything's good?
Everything's
Selling
great.
out arenas and everything?
Yeah.
Starting to act different, huh? You ain't been calling me and hanging out the way we used to hang out.
Well, I mean, you try to get in contact with me, through all my, partners and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
But you never really got my number, so.
Right. Okay.
My number?
Yeah.
I'm gonna tell you my number.
Yeah. What's up, man? You good?
I'm good. How are you doing?
Young brother, everything's good?
Everything's
Selling
great.
out arenas and everything?
Yeah.
Starting to act different, huh? You ain't been calling me and hanging out the way we used to hang out.
Well, I mean, you try to get in contact with me, through all my, partners and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
But you never really got my number, so.
Right. Okay.
My number?
Yeah.
This is sad, man. This is so freaking sad. And these parents have to be held accountable. You don't be letting your kid do this type of crap. Put some freaking backbone in your kids. The kid wants to be a star. Let him, I don't even agree with doing this type of stuff. I don't. If they want to be so gung-ho, be a star, let them wait till they're 21. Because you could see trauma in Beaver's eyes. You could see it. They're stuck in this industry. I'd rather be happy working a 9-to-5 job, making good money. I'm not starving. I have a place of my own. And I'm all right. I would rather have that than to live this life right here. This life is nothing but trauma. And you have to be doing drugs and, flipping out because you can't cope with the trauma of what you've done or what has happened to you against your will. All right. So I'm going to talk about this right here. UN chief calls for slavery reparation. United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres has called for slavery reparations over the transatlantic slave trade, which deprived enslaved people of education, healthcare, opportunity, and prosperity. We call for reparation justice framework overcome generations of exclusion and discrimination, Guterres said Monday, which marked the International Day of Remembrance of the victims of slavery and the transatlantic slave trade. We appeal for the space and necessary conditions for healing, repair, and justice. More than 12.5 million Africans were forcibly transported by European merchants on their ships and sold into slavery. Some profited off of enslaved people's labor. Those who survived trips were put on plantations in Brazil and the Caribbean. This laid the foundation of a violent discrimination system based on white supremacy that echoes today, Guterres said. Descendants of enslaved African people of African descent are still fighting for equal rights and freedoms around the world. A UN report issued last year said countries could consider financial the enslavement of people of African descent, but it recognized the process of making legal claims, identifying victims and perpetrators as complex. Under international human rights law, compensation for any economical accessible damage as appropriate and proportional to the gravity of the violation and circumstances of each state may also constitute a form of reparations, according to the report released in September. The context of historical wrongs and harms as a result of colonialism and enslavement, the assessment of the economic damage can be extremely difficult owing to the length of time passed and the difficulty of identifying the perpetrators and the victims, the report said. Beckles, the chair of the Caribbean Community CARICOM Reparations Commission, echoed Guterres' remarks. This is the move will signal, finally, the collective victory of humanity, of good over evil, said. According to Reuters, the CARICOM Reparations Commission was created to pursue reparations from former colonial powers like Portugal, France, and Great Britain. Who knows if this is going to work? I don't know, man. I don't know. Will it work for them? Will people of Caribbean descent get reparations? I don't know. Hopefully they do, but 9 times out of 10, it end up being a scam. All right, just like in America, when California wanted to try and get reparations, there was a committee set up for reparations to make the state of California pay for reparations for every black descendant of Black American slavery. Well, we all know that was a scam, and Gavin Newsom said, well, no money could amount to pay back for reparations, blah, blah, blah. And this is just how it goes. It's a scam. Okay. And look what happened with Biden and Kamala Harris. Kamala Harris having Sexy Red being played for young Black college students while HBCUs are being shut down. She's not talking about reparations. She doesn't care. So who knows? But it will be something if reparations for those who suffered white supremacy in the West Indies and the Caribbean, they get it, and African Americans don't get it. That will be something. That will be something to talk about. It really will. Okay. So let's talk about right here, another form of racism by the left. All right. Washington Supreme Court rules bar exam negatively impacts minorities, will no longer require it for lawyers. The Washington State Supreme Court officially abolished traditional bar exam requirements for aspiring lawyers Friday due to its perceived negative impact on minorities. The court has announced that the bar exam is no longer a requirement for those who aspire to be practicing lawyers. The Bar License Task Force claims that the exam is only minimally effective in measuring competency and noted its unfair barrier to communities aspiring to practice law, according to the Washington Administrative Office of the Courts. The task force on bar license found that the usual bar exam unfairly stops people from underrepresented groups from entering the legal profession. The exam is not good at measuring it if someone is qualified. Oh, this is just a way to show people, to frame blacks as look, and minorities as look how incompetent they are, look how stupid they are, look how low IQ blacks and other minorities are when it comes to law, education. This is bringing back segregation. This is going to bring back white supremacy as never before. And you got some black people that will be for this nonsense, some minorities that will be for this nonsense. Okay, not understanding that this is bringing back segregation. This is not progress. This is regression. All right. You'll have the Republicans on the other side who love to say, look at this. Look at this. It's DEI. Look at this. Look how they have an incompetent black people in trying to be in law. All right. Look at what they're doing. They're using black people to be the face of degeneracy, of low IQ, of low intelligence. That's what they're doing. Washington has followed Oregon in getting rid of the bar exam requirement, making it the second state to do so after Oregon. Other states like Minnesota, Nevada, South Dakota, and Utah are looking into different ways to license lawyers, the spokesman reviews reported. These recommendations come from a diverse body of lawyers in public practice, academics, and researchers who contributed to immense insight, counterpoints, and research to get us where we are today. Washington Supreme Court Justice Raquel Montoya Lewis, who chaired the task force, said in a statement, according to the spokesman review, with alternative pathways, we recognize that there are multiple ways to ensure competent, licensed body of new attorneys who are so desperately needed around the state. I bet you won't have these people who didn't take the law exam to represent you. I bet you won't do that. I bet you won't do that. The Supreme Court of Washington has ruled that the prospective lawyers will no longer be required to pass a bar exam to practice in the state. The decision was reportedly made because the bar exam was too difficult for examinees of color. Basically, what they're saying, you're too stupid to pass the bar exam due to the color of your skin, so we're going to lower the bar. We're going to lower the standard. That's what's being said here. Under the new system, prospective lawyers can bypass the bar exam through a 6-month apprenticeship paired with completing specified courses, the outlet reported. This approach not only sets up the profession to a broader demographic, but also emphasizes practical experience. Candidates are required to engage in legal work for at least 3 hours weekly and earn 12 skill credits as licensed legal interns, accumulating up to 500 hours of law-related experience before graduating. The initiative extends an opportunity to law clerks who haven't completed law school to qualify as licensed practitioners after fulfilling 500 hours as licensed legal interns and meeting educational benchmarks under a mentor attorney's supervision. Established on November 20th, 2020, the task force was responsible for examining the exam's impact on examinees of color and those who are the first in their families to pursue a legal career. The task force will assess the efficiency of Washington State Bar exam and related requirements for licensing competent lawyers, examine current and past bar examination methods, passage rates, and alternative license methods, the description stated. All right. This is wild, man. I could imagine the comments. I could imagine these comments right here of what they're saying about minorities right here. All right. Here's one here. Anyone can be a legal apprentice for a given time. That doesn't prove anything. A high school dropout could bring his boss coffee and take orders for a period of time. Tests are to prove one's true worth in a profession. If someone can't pass the bar exam, they're not smart enough or committed to be a lawyer. It's that simple. If minorities or anyone can't pass the bar exam, they need to study harder or choose a different profession. Make it easier to become a lawyer is the most disgusting, ridiculous thing I've ever heard of. How fair is this to all lawyers who have to pass the bar exam? Should we let a minority who thinks 2 + 2 = 5 become a math teacher if he acts as an apprentice for a few months? I can't describe how unbelievably ridiculous this is. It's true. This is true. This is going to make black people look bad. It's going to have us looking really bad. And this is a plan from the Democrats and the Republicans. Okay? They're working hand to hand with white supremacy. This is what they're doing. Okay? They're going to try. The Democrats' job is to make blacks look degenerate, incompetent, not smart enough, lazy, not motivated to do anything right or to accomplish anything in life. The Republicans are the ones to justify white supremacy. They're just saying, I'm protecting America by keeping these blacks out of our neighborhoods, these blacks out of our schools, because they're incompetent, low IQ, and can't learn anything worth a damn. That's their job. And behind closed doors, the Democrats and Republicans shake hands. Nice job. You too. We're on the same team, right? Yeah. Make slavery great again, just in a different form. That's how it is. That is how it is. And a lot of black people who will look at this and be like, oh man, woohoo, I don't have to bust my butt anymore. Woohoo, I don't have to do this. You already have procedures now that black people don't have to study hard enough to be a doctor. All right? They took away certain requirements that you had to go through in order to be a doctor. They took that out. So now when you see a black person and he's a doctor, now you have fear in your heart. Now you're trembling. Is this person qualified? Did he do what he had to do? Did he do his residency? How qualified is he? That's what's going to happen. All right? And people are not looking into that at all. Sad. But it is what it is, man. It is what it is. People are really not looking at this clearly. I mean, there's people out there that are, but they're few and far in between. All right. Let's get into this right here.
Minister Benjamin Netanyahu stands more isolated than ever. His global allies are slowly turning their back on him. So are those at home. Just have a look at what really is going on. The United Nations Security Council has passed a resolution. It has called for an immediate ceasefire in Gaza. All while the US, Israel's biggest supporter in this war, stood aside and watched. Yes, the US abstained from voting. This fell short of Israel's expectations. You see, Netanyahu wanted Biden to veto the resolution, but that clearly did not happen. There were bound to be some repercussions. And it did not take too long. Soon after the resolution was passed, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu called off a delegation visit to the United States. 2 of his top advisors were scheduled to visit America. They were supposed to discuss the Rafah offensive, which, remember, Israel has been threatening for a while. But now the talks have been stalled, and the fate of Rafah hangs in the balance. Netanyahu has further accused the US of abandoning its policy in the UN. And the US has reacted by saying that it is perplexed by the Israeli decision. The entire fiasco has exposed the growing rift between the two sides. You see, this is the strongest public clash between Netanyahu and Biden, and it's not going to do well for Israel, which is nearing total isolation on the world stage. U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken warned of the same a few days ago, in fact. Listen into this.
As we've said, though, a major military ground operation in Rafah is not the way to do it. It risks killing more civilians. It risks wreaking greater havoc with the provision of humanitarian assistance. It risks further isolating Israel around the world and jeopardizing its long-term security and standing.
But the Israeli Prime Minister does not agree. Here's what he has to say.
I met today with Secretary of State Blinken. I told him that I greatly appreciate the fact that for more than 5 months, we are standing together in the war against Hamas. But I also said that we have no way to defeat Hamas without entering Rafah and eliminating the rest of the battalions there. And I told him that I hope we will do it with the support of the United States. But if we have to, we will do it alone.
As you can see, the allies have been openly contradicting each other. And they have been doing so for a while now, by the way. Netanyahu went so far as to say the IDF will enter Rafah even if it does not have America's blessings. Just where is Netanyahu even getting this confidence from? Whose support does Israel have if it pulls out? France too, also, in fact, has been hardening its stance on Israel. During a phone call on Sunday, the French President Emmanuel Macron warned Netanyahu against displacing Gazans from Rafah. He said this would be a war crime. And now the Royal Air Force has also begun to intervene. It is airdropping aid into Gaza. This is the first ever since the war broke out. And in another first, it had voted yes in the UNSC vote, while it had abstained from voting in the earlier 3 ceasefire resolutions.
People are possibly not gotten fed up with Netanyahu's Zionist ways. Maybe that's it. Maybe that's the reason. People are tired of Netanyahu and those who think like him. Okay? Maybe that's it. Hold on 1 minute. Okay, we are back. Maybe they're just tired of it. Maybe they just don't want to put up with Netanyahu's evil ways. Maybe that's it. Maybe that's what's going on. They see how cruel and monstrous you are to the Palestinians. These, Israelis, citizens are revolting against you, and they want you gone. They don't want you there anymore, Netanyahu. You don't want peace. You don't want a two-party state with Palestine. You want to erase Palestine. And many who think like him, they're showing their true colors. All the conspiracy theories about the Zionists are shown to be facts. And people are rising up protesting against Zionism. Because what Zionism really is just white supremacy in Israeli government form. And people are tired of it. That's all I got for now. All right. And that's about it. Anything you want to know about this channel is in the description box. I'm also on Spotify. All right. Hard Talk Radio, live in 4K. So that's about it. All right. Later.